All right, greetings and salutations, folks. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today's uploads are going to be a little funky. I'm going in for my surgery today, and I don't know how any of it has worked out because, well, this is pre-recorded. I just wanted to thank everybody who has sent emails and texts and messenger or messages on Messenger to me, and it really does mean a lot. So 8 this morning, I will be going in, and I guess the surgery will finish up by like 2:30. I don't even know when I'm uploading this, to be honest with you. So who knows? Anyway, maybe I'll upload it before I go in for the surgery. But what I wanted to do before we jump into everything is I wanted to thank MJ Bates, because she sent me a care package, one of a whole bunch of different kinds of soups and a couple of really awesome gifts. Because of my hair getting shaved, I don't like it. So she sent me a whole bunch of really sweet, cool hats. This hat will be worn inside because it's super soft and not itchy. Amazing hat. I love it, actually. And then this, she sent me a Bigfoot hat, a blue one as well, which I'm giving to my dad so we can be kind of like twinsies. No, I'm just kidding. And this shirt is amazing. I friggin' love it, to be honest with you. I think it's supposed to be Nessie, but well, I live in the Adirondacks, and we have Bigfoot, Dogman, and Champ, the Champlain Lake Monster. So, to me, it looks like Bigfoot's riding Champ. And, yeah, I just want to thank you, MJ. And there's a couple of other little knickknacks, odds and ends she had sent me. But it really means the world to me, and I do appreciate it. So, I've got pretty decent upload to share with you right now before we jump into it. A couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, the merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks, available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? All right, so I had been and have been talking a lot about different things as of late. Dogman, Bigfoot, the alien agenda, Dulce, and whatnot. And just going down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes, kind of expanding the channel to kind of fit all of my interests. I didn't want to just be a Dogman channel. I am fascinated by so much more than just Dogman. Even though I've only experienced cryptid-wise a Dogman back in 1994. I've had multiple paranormal experiences and such, but I have since people have been reaching out to me, and I had one gentleman reach out that he had been involved in a hunt for a giant or Nephilim in California, and a couple of different other places that there had been these creatures spotted. Now, this guy had told me that there are multiple giant creatures, Nephilim. I'm just going to refer to them as Nephilim, because to me, anything that is that large, larger than a Bigfoot and does not resemble a Bigfoot, to me is a Nephilim, you know? Until we have a better or different term for it, that's what I'm going to refer to them as. And per the gentleman, he said that there are at least 100, maybe more, of these creatures throughout the world that our government knows about. And there's some in America, Canada, Mexico, China, Russia, wherever. Any place there is large swaths of forest land and very little people, like just hardly any population, is where these creatures are known to be housed. Per the gentleman out of California, the majority of the ones that are in America have been researched or documented. There are some that occasionally pop up, like the one in California. Now, I had talked a lot about the mysterious case of Andrew Dawson, which in this video, I am going to prove without a shadow of a doubt that what that man went through was legit. His death is legit. I have the proof. There's people that say it didn't happen, and you know, it's a tragedy because it did happen. The gentleman that I talked to in the last week worked with Andrew Dawson in a oil pipeline company called Trans Mountain. And this gentleman is or was older than Andrew Dawson. We are not going to share this guy's real name. We're just going to refer to him as Ethan. And he actually had his own sighting of a Nephilim in the northwestern territories of Canada while working for a different oil pipeline up there. And that is a very large swath of empty populace. There's hardly anybody that lives up there. And the towns are sporadically placed. This guy pretty much, he's retired and reached out because of what I've been talking about. And I've been a advocate or whatnot about Andrew's case being real, being legit. I can prove the memorial service where it was held and such, which I'm going to in this video. But Ethan had experienced one of these creatures while in the northwestern territories of Canada about 25 years ago. Okay, so when Ethan reached out, all he said was, I saw some of your videos and heard you talking about how you feel 100% without a shadow of a doubt that Andrew Dawson's case was real. And he said it was. And he worked with him and such at one point for Trans Mountain. That's where Andrew Dawson, the company that he worked for at the time of his sighting. Now, Ethan is obviously a lot older than, or was a lot older than Andrew Dawson is, but he had been in the oil pipeline industry for his adulthood. He retired from this business, and he is a engineer slash surveyor. He and a few other people are tasked with looking at land and seeing if it's possible to run a pipeline through certain areas. So he's up in the Northwestern Territories in a little town kind of called Norman Wells. It's where this major oil company's out of. And in the late 90s, he and a few other people are tasked with figuring out a way of running a pipeline across the Canadian Rockies from Norman Wells all the way over to the Yukon. What made it complex was that there are multiple First Nation reservations or lands in that area. And they would actually, to go into the Canadian Rockies, they'd actually have to go into a national park, it's called Natsinchon National Park. It's in the Canadian Rockies, in between Norman Wells and Yukon. Because if they were going to do it, they'd either have to go straight through or kind of up and around the Canadian Rockies to where it kind of would be less hazardous and just, financial cost is first and foremost to these businesses. And then having to deal with First Nation people, convincing them and their, leaders, hey, it's going to benefit you if we run a pipeline through your land, whether it be above or below ground. So one day they head out and they are in a helicopter. They are going over the Rockies at Natsinchon National Reserve. And they had been flying. They flew out of Norman Wells. They had been up for about 45 minutes. They had about an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes of fuel left. They were just going to be out for a couple of hours just to survey everything and see if it was possible. So they get up into the Canadian Rockies, northwest of Norman Wells, and where the Rockies kind of hook. Either way, the way they're looking at it, they're going to have to run pipeline up and around, or still pretty much up and around. There's no way of them doing it. And they figured that out. So they finally came to the conclusion that it's not possible. And they're turning around and they're heading back to Norman Wells. As they are in this helicopter above the Canadian Rockies, they are just looking around. Business was done. Like they had already come to the conclusion that they are not going to be able to run a pipeline through this part of the land. As they are flying above the mountain range, they are not that far off the ground, 150, 200 feet, which to me sounds like a lot, but I guess in a helicopter, it's not really. And they're just looking down and they see movement, and it kind of puts them off. Like, there's a movement down there. And the pilot, who is friends with, all of these engineer/surveyors, they're all joking around anyway. And they see what looks like a man running through these capped areas, treacherous terrain. And they're just like, what the hell is down there? Because it's just very little grass with some trees and just jagged rock. And they kind of turn to do a overhang above it, because now one of the guys is like, that's a freaking Bigfoot. Holy shit, that's a Bigfoot. As they circle around, the pilot said, I don't know if that's a Bigfoot. I've never seen a Bigfoot, but that looks human, but absolutely huge to me. Now, they're about 30 miles away from Norman Wells. They only max went 15 miles into the Rockies. So they're kind of at the ridge, kind of where the Rockies would just end, and head back to Norman Wells, which is about 30 miles as they're seeing this. So for, an hour's worth of time, they haven't seen anything. Now they see this movement and everyone's excited. Bigfoot, holy shit. Pilot says, no, that looks human. And they kind of circle back and drop in elevation. All being engineers and surveyors, they're pretty good with kind of height and distance with measurements. They're all looking at this, and he puts it somewhere between 15 to 20 feet in height, closer to the 20-foot range. Now, what's confusing them at this first moment is this thing's running, and it is running at a decent clip. It hasn't acknowledged the helicopter. It appears to be hairy. It just appears to be large, very tall, very large, with brownish fur. Its head and its shoulders, of what they can see looking down at an angle. And at this point, they kind of circle back, and they're heading back towards Norman Wells, because they've already circled once around this thing, and they drop altitude a little more. And now they can clearly see that how large it is, and that it is not a Bigfoot. And now it's aware of them, because it stops running and looks up kind of at them. It doesn't make any motions or anything. It just looks up at them. They can't see any facial features, but they can see that it stopped and its head kind of pointed up. What they see is it toss this brown, what they thought was its shoulders, off of itself. And they realize, one of the guys says, that was a fucking bear. That was a grizzly bear. That thing had a grizzly bear on its shoulders. What the hell is that? Now they are looking at this thing exposed. It had now tossed this bear off its shoulders, and it's staring up at them. And they're all like, turn back. Let's let's see what this goddamn thing is. What is that? You know, it's not a Bigfoot. None of these guys have ever heard of anything like this. I guess some of the native tribes out there, there's like a tribal council that's a decent ways away from Norman Wells, but I guess the people that are responsible for running pipeline and such have had to deal with these Native Americans, and they've heard some of the lore of large, you know, giants out there, but they've always thought that they were talking about Bigfoot. And this is clearly not a Bigfoot. They can see that it's apparently wearing hide or some sort of fur over its legs and its chest, stomach area. They can see that it's skin, there's skin exposed. Mind you, they are still 60 to 70 feet looking down at this thing. And it's looking up. They see the bear's carcass, and it is a grizzly bear. It is a large grizzly bear. And it then kind of looks up and it makes this kind of motion that they thought it was waving at them. And, you know, one of the guys said, it's waving at us. What the hell is it doing? And all of a sudden they hear this loud, like, smashing noise. This just metallic ping, but not a ping, like just this, like if you hit a bat with a car, if you hit a car with a bat. And apparently when it made that gesture, it wasn't waving. It had thrown a rock or boulder. I mean, if it's 20 feet, it's going to be a good sized rock at the bottom of the helicopter. It hit the helicopter. They're like, fuck this, let's get out of here. And they chopper back to Norman Wells. And they're all talking about it on the way back. They're like, what the hell? You know, was that, these guys are, you know, hard-working guys, even though he's an engineer and a surveyor and such. And he's not out laying pipeline and doing manual labor, but still he has worked and done that. So, like, these guys are burly dudes, you know? Just only lore they've ever heard is Bigfoot. So they get back to Norman Wells, and as they land, they're wondering, there's no malfunctions with the helicopter, but they're wondering if there was any kind of, you know, damage or whatnot. So they land, no issues. And they get out and they look, and where the rock had hit, it had hit the tail kind of hull of the ass end of the helicopter, and it had dented it. And it was a good sized dent. He said a large watermelon or, you know, a pumpkin sized dent was in the bottom part of the helicopter. And now the pilot's going to have to explain this to his foremans and such. But everyone's so excited and just beyond belief. So when they get back, they all kind of go into the office and they're talking amongst themselves and bringing other people into the conversation, saying, you know, this is what we just saw. Some of the guys are like, oh, it was a Bigfoot, you know, and they're all, no, this was at least 15 to 20 feet in height. This thing was huge. It looked like a man. It seemed to be wearing hides. It looked almost like a large his description would have been like a large Native American from like the early 1900s, wearing leather and fur bottom coverage and not shirts or pants, but just coverage. It had long hair, and it was a long black hair, and it looked, now that they're thinking about it, it looked like just a large Native American, 20-foot large Native American, carrying a grizzly bear on its shoulders. And a few of the guys that they're telling this to are, obviously saying, get the hell out of here. What are you talking about? There's nothing like that out there. If you saw anything at all, it would have been a Bigfoot. Have you guys been drinking? What's going on? And as the day goes by, their foremans and bosses start to hear of the commotion that's going on. So now everyone that was in that helicopter is brought privately into a room, and they are all tested for drugs and alcohol. Just part of the, if you get hurt, whatever, just part of the routine, because you guys are up in one of our helicopters flying above the Canadian Rockies. If you guys are on drugs or drinking, you guys lost your jobs. What the hell? You didn't see anything like this. Is it a group hallucination? A drunken or drugged out group hallucination? So all of them pass, like breathalyzers, drug tests, everything. Nobody has any kind of substances in their systems for their bosses to believe that they were under the influence of anything when they saw this. And obviously now they're looking at the helicopter, and it's got this large dent in the back part. So like this would be the front of the helicopter, the back, and the tail. So it kind of was dented right here. The rudders or whatever is up here. And it just literally just a big pumpkin or watermelon sized dent. So now there's got to be some sort of explanation for what happened. Obviously he didn't put it down. What the hell, what did you guys see? And he believes that there's a guy that works with the Canadian government that they have to deal with Native American lands and such. There's always someone that doesn't work for the company, that works for the government to do checks and balances. Now he becomes aware of everything that's being talked about. So as this guy is becoming aware of what is going on and what is being said, the pilot and Ethan and a few of the other guys that were in the helicopter were told to, hey, let's check this area out. It's obvious that you weren't under the influence of anything, but something was seen. And if it's a matter of safety for all of us, maybe we should check it out. So a few of the bosses or foremans or whatnot, his higher ups, they fly out to the area where they had seen this giant creature. And there's nothing out there. There's no place to land. They can't hike in there. To hike in there would be days on end. They're 30 miles from where Norman Wells is. You're talking another 10 miles into the mountain range. So it's a hike. So they fly out. They can't land. They can't look around. But there's no evidence of anything out there. They vaguely recall where the spot was, and they had flown over the area. The same pilot was flying, so they didn't find the bear. They didn't find a large Native American looking giant creature, and they fly back. Couple days have passed to where now it's just kind of thinking in the back of your head, like, what the hell? What did we see? They're just kind of told, hey, forget about it. We looked, we can't find anything. We'll have to, take you at your word, but really we're not going to say anything about it because we don't know what to say about it. One day, Ethan and the gentlemen that were in that helicopter with him are called back into one of the main owner-operator of the company in his kind of boardroom meeting. So there's 5 or 6 guys in that room that work for this oil piping company, and a foreman, a boss, and 2 gentlemen that they don't recognize. And they're being questioned, like, where were you in regards to Natsetchan National Forest? Where were you in regards to this tribal land or this tribal land? Exact coordinates. What did you see? Was there contact made? Etc., etc., etc. Now, Ethan is starting to notice that both are speaking English, but one is speaking better English than the other person that's there. And he's American. So he's thinking, what the hell is an American up here questioning us? And, what is going on? What is this, real deal of what's happening? The other guy had made the announcement that he was, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS. But if this guy's American, he's not Canadian Security Intelligence Service. Who the hell is he? So he's got to be FBI, CIA. They're all questioned. They're all told, like, let's just drop it. If you saw anything, maybe it was perspective. Maybe it was a Native American that you had seen. And being that you were in a helicopter, that your height and measurement perspective was off. All those guys know that's not the truth. Like, that's what they do for a living. They can eye measurements, just that's what they deal with. They deal with measurements all day long. So no NDAs are signed, nothing like that. It's almost like they didn't want to make a bigger deal out of it at all. Now, these guys leave, and they realize, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't say anything around this guy that works for, the government, even though he doesn't work for the intelligence services, but, he's obviously going to rat us out or go back and say, these guys are still talking about it, whatnot, because they're, directed don't talk about it anymore. No one needs to know it was a Native American, and that's what you guys saw. So they're talking amongst themselves, and one of the older guys that wasn't in the helicopter, but had worked in this company for quite some time, and just had a lot of knowledge of the government and, you know, things, how they work, Native American lore and this and that. And he said to the guys, you know, I think you probably shouldn't talk about this, because if there was an American involved in this, you know, you're not only dealing with the Canadian Security Intelligence Services, but you're dealing with a kind of clandestine intelligence service that is, you know, worldwide and can pretty much make you disappear quicker than CIA, CSIS. And he said I believe they're called Five Eyes, and they are into some seriously deep shit. And if they're involved, chances are you did see a giant. Chances are you did see one of these creatures, and they don't want you to even talk about it or even think about it. So for your safety, just shut up about it. So that's the 90s, you know, that's a late 90s, 25 years ago. And so, you know, time goes on, and no one else sees anything, no one else hears anything, and they just kind of forget about it. It just sticks in the back of Ethan's head. And as he's getting closer to age and retirement area, you know, time, he's now moving out of the Northwestern Territories, getting closer to population. And he gets a job with Trans Mountain back in 2020. He retired sometime within the last 2 years. And he had met Andrew Dawson. Didn't know him all too well, but knew him, and he seemed like a good guy. You know, he wasn't a kid. We're talking a 44-year-old. Andrew Dawson was 44. You know, father, husband. But Ethan had caught wind of what was going on. And I guess he had said something, you know, to Andrew about after a couple of the TikToks, because when Andrew was making these TikToks, he wasn't at home. He was literally working for Trans Mountain at the time. And he said, listen, you know, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you are seeing, you know, blacked out cars and people acting weird and, you know, acting kind of funny, stop posting this shit, because these agencies are deeper than you think. You know, it's not something to mess around with. And that leads me to think and believe now that I always wondered about this. Is in Andrew Dawson, one of his videos, he says, it's either the CIA or the FBI that, you know, telling me to shut up or whatnot. But he specifically said CIA or FBI, not CSIS, not the Canadians, but the Americans, you know, the American secret agencies, you know, the three-letter alphabet agencies of doom. And it makes more sense because that's this Five Eyes. Canadian, American, English, all working as an intelligence organization to kind of squash or keep things a secret or do things during wartime. You know, just an agency that you don't want to mess with. Far worse than the FBI, far worse than the CIA. Contains members of those, but has a hell of a lot more reach. So, you know, he tells him, you know, look, just stop posting this shit, man. Like, I've seen some things in my days, and you don't have to take my word for it, but you know, you got a family, you're not going to want to talk about this anymore. And obviously TikTok and social media wasn't available in 99, 98 when Ethan had his experience, but it is now. And Andrew Dawson took prime advantage of it and exposed these guys and these agencies and this shit that was going on for, you know, what it was. So that now brings us to Andrew Dawson with the Canoe Mountain. And I remember when it was first brought to everyone's attention on TikTok, and there was all these videos. There was a total of 6, and I'm going to share them with you. But then at one point, there was some, I forget who, but had said that there was like some ski lodge up there, which is the furthest thing from the truth, because it is actually a old radio tower with a building that so closely resembles the radio tower and building that sits on top of the Archuleta Mesa, which is directly below that is Dulce's Deep Underground Military Base, or DUM. It's not some ski lodge that people had, you know, people made videos saying it was a ski lodge. This is really what he saw. And it was some ski lodge. No, there's not a ski lodge where he saw and bore witness to this. It's a dilapidated radio tower. And Ethan, you know, shortly after or during all of this, had retired, but had said, you know, just stop talking about it, man. Stop talking about it, kid. You know, you're too young. You got a family. Just shut up. I know the extent that these people can reach. And if you have Five Eyes looking at you, and the FBI and CIA and CSIS are all pointing a finger or keeping an eye on you, then you might have messed up. You might have messed up putting those videos up. And what happens is he puts all these videos up, he's giddy, he's this and that, and then shit starts to unfold real quick. Now, during all of this, you know, the videos were up, and then people were like, whoa, why isn't he posting anymore on his TikTok? He had accumulated a lot of followers. His girlfriend, slash wife, fiance, child's mom, had, you know, made a statement to where he had been suffering depression and this and that, and he had succumbed to his depression. To me, when you see the video where he is clearly in distress. It really does to me look like he's being threatened, and to many other people. Is it that hard for them to threaten his girlfriend, his child's mother? You know, just say he had been suffering depression, and he succumbed to his own depression. Because isn't that what they do with the people that are attacked by, you know, Dogman, Bigfoot, whatever? They make the victim out like they are the wrong person. They're the bad person. You know, Tony Aarons, Amber Miller, Christopher Whiteley. For some reason, you know, they've always got to bring up the depression and the drug addiction and stuff like that. Thank God they didn't with Andrew. They just, you know, used the depression bit. But he saw something, he caught something that he shouldn't have shared. And Ethan believes that if in the late 90s, if they had the technology that we have nowadays, you know, sure shit, one of the guys that were in that chopper would have probably been in the same boat that Andrew Dawson was in back in 2022. And then there's those people that say he's still alive. You know, there's some, you know, corny looking obituary online. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is an obituary that's online, and it's vague. It is vague, but there's also a memorial service obituary, a real one. And it's in care of Sutton Campbell River Funeral Home, which exists. It's not a fake made up funeral home. This memorial service for Andrew Ryan Watchorn Dawson is not a fake internet fake. You know, this young man tragically lost his life somehow, and I believe the shadow government didn't like what he was talking about, and so doesn't Ethan. So here are those videos to get you refamiliarized with what I was talking about. And then I'm going to show you some more proof.
What is it?
It's a person, dude. No, seriously, pull over. It's a person standing there.
No, it's not.
Dude, have you seen what I've seen right now? Do you see how far away it is? How far I have to zoom? Do you know how hard it is to keep a steady hand? If this video blows up, or somebody buys me a friggin' helicopter to get all the way up there. We are on our way. We're gonna go find somewhere closer, and I'm gonna set my camera on something so you guys aren't complaining how shaky it is in the truck. Because, yeah, internet has no chill. But that's the mountain we're going to. But we're just gonna try to get closer. Okay, I'm gonna use this as a tripod to try to keep it steady for you guys. And it's not even there anymore, too. That's where it was yesterday. I spoke to some locals and it comes and goes apparently. I don't know. See, that's me trying to keep it super steady with something. There we go. Do you know how hard it is to keep it steady when zoomed in all the way? I just got stopped by like some CIA agents. He told me to turn around, said I'm trespassing. I said it's a public area, like a public park or whatever. Some local told me to take this path. I didn't get it on camera, but I'm going to go again tomorrow and be prepared to be filming right now because he stopped the vehicle. His truck was blocking it. Said some like environmental issue was going on. I don't know. He told me to go back and said I was trespassing. I don't get it. It was awkward, but I'm going back again tomorrow to see if he's not there. But if he is there, I will keep camera. I will film because the only angle I could get that I found today is the one I just posted earlier, and there wasn't even anything there. But I don't understand why the road's blocked off. I don't know. So they're extracting something out of here. There's 2 helicopters. What the fuck? The guy's here again. Yeah, this is him. What's going on?
Road's closed. Turn around.
Really?
Yeah, man. Just turn around, please.
Okay. Have a good night, man. So that was fucked up. There he is. I'm driving past him again. Just turned around. I don't understand why it's closed off though. It's a fucking public park or public road or whatever. I think that's the same vehicle from... Hey! Hey guys, I just want to give you an update. I'm not dead. I have not disappeared. I have just been busy with life. I couldn't get around to posting and updating you guys, so now I'm going to give you an official update of what's been going on. Sorry to disappoint you guys, but all of the videos that I posted were scripted. They're just fake. They were just strictly for entertainment. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. I just needed to give you a quick update. You might not see me post ever again. My videos weren't fake.
So that is the compiled TikTok videos that Andrew Dawson had done, and just sharing them to familiarize yourself, or if you've never seen them, now you have. You can see the fear in his eyes, like I said, and it's a horrific. You feel bad for him. You genuinely feel bad for him. You can see fear in this man's eyes. A 34-year-old man doesn't act like that. You know, that is fear. The obituary, I couldn't get it to fit the screen, so I broke it into 2 pieces. That's what you're seeing momentarily here. And also the photos of the radio tower which is on Mount Canoe that Andrew Dawson had seen up there. That doesn't look like a ski lodge to me. And some of the debunk Andrew Dawson videos that were made back in the day. They posted like this beautiful ski lodge and a couple other things. That's what's up there. It's just this abandoned radio tower. And in a moment, you will see a photo of the radio tower that is on Archuleta Mesa, which is directly above Dulce. So it's kind of weird that there's a radio tower that looks so similar to the one that is on Canoe Mountain on Archuleta Mesa. Underneath Archuleta Mesa is a deep underground military base. What do you think is underneath Canoe Mountain? I'm just going to make a educated guess. Deep underground military base. So yeah, there are these giant creatures, giant Nephilim, whatever you want to call them. They are lurking throughout the world. There may not be thousands of them. You know, someone had made a statement, how do they sustain themselves? Well, in Danny Van Drimmeny's book, Them and Us, how Neanderthal predation created modern human, it talks about a Neanderthal eating 4 pounds of meat a day. So a Neanderthal, not as big as, obviously nowhere near the size of a giant, but I'm guessing it would be able to maintain on 10 to 15 pounds of meat daily, maybe more. But that's not hard if there's only hundreds of them, if there's like, you know, tops 100. Also, are they interdimensional? That's another thing. If they're interdimensional, food wouldn't be scarce to these things. They could hunt here, they could hunt there. You know, we don't know. We don't know anything about what the government, the one world government, not the entertainment government down in Washington, D.C., but the one world government. Think about, you've got an agency called Five Eyes that consists of a bunch of countries all speaking English. And you're telling me that there's not a one world government? It is absolutely absurd. Ethan, I'd like to thank you for sharing your experiences with us. And, you know, my prayers go out to Andrew Dawson and his family. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. These creatures are real, they are out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.